go step on this thing over here, do this thing, shoot that guy, and stuff happens. Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Starside Lounge, the DBO podcast. I'm Beorn, and with me today we've got Xenos.
Hello.
Hey, Xenos. And we were short on admins, and we decided it might be fun to bring in a couple community members. So today we also have Earendil.
Hello.
Welcome. And we have Speedracer.
Hey there.
Or Guardian. I don't know which one you want to go by.
Speedracer.
Speedracer, all right.
Speedracer's his name on the forums, so...
The only reason I'm Guardian on PS4 was because Speedracer 513 was taken, and I actually had Speedracer 5133, but that extra 3 bothered me.
Fair enough. Well, welcome, guys, and first time we've had guests on the Starside Lounge, so this is exciting. This week, we had a fair bit of news with the Bungie weekly update. It's been a little meatier since they've started talking about the Taken King. And just sort of curious about everyone was thinking about the announcements and news that were in this week's update.
Yeah.
How about you, Speedracer?
It was pretty good stuff. I really liked the pictures of the concept versus in-game.
Mm-hmm.
And there were 2 parts that really stuck out to me. Scrolling down here, finding it. Mike Poe said one of the biggest challenges we faced was making the Dreadnaught feel unsettling and uninviting while still making it a place people would want to visit and spend a lot of time exploring. And then further down, as I posted on the forums, there was that part about how the Dreadnaught is going to basically be puzzly, the way I read it at least. There's going to be some stuff to figure out more so than just kind of... I got the impression that we won't just see a chest up in a corner and fly up and get to it.
Right.
But we're actually going to have to figure out how to platform and puzzle our way around the place.
There'll be some mechanics that are hidden. Yeah. How about you, Earendil?
So I think one of the more interesting parts that I read there was the bit about, let's see if I can find the quote, a monstrous spaceship captained by the Taken King, yet filled with vast caverns and unknown passages. I'm hoping that it is actually vast and bigger than I think it is. I hope to actually get lost in this thing. Whereas there are few of the worlds have I ever really gotten lost on, right? Mars is kind of hard to get lost on. The moon is actually probably the only place I have where I've gone in and the first time I popped out some other place on the moon. I thought,
where am I?
Wait, these two connect? I didn't know.
And honestly, it's just a small part of the moon that you get lost in.
That reminds me of the beta, actually. You know, we had the moon for all of 2 hours during the beta.
Just go as
and I went
far
in there
as you
with
can.
Sigbius Silva and TTL Demagogue, I think. And we burned through that mission real quick because we wanted to take every second of that 2 hours. And then, so we did the mission again, but this time instead of going the right way, we went inside. And we spent an hour just going deeper and deeper and deeper into the moon, getting lost, seeing all these doors that we thought were going to open when the game came out. Unfortunately, most of them didn't. But it took us 45 minutes to even try to find our way back out that day because we just went so deep into it.
Yeah, I agree with you, Earendil. I think there's promise there because of how the Hellmouth plays. And if you... I was sort of picturing that... sort of 2 sides of it. One is if the entire environment is sort of like the Hellmouth. That's great. And then 2 is we're now a year in, and maybe Bungie's found a way to optimize or stick a little bit more geometry into these large playable spaces. They sort of know more about the game in the hands of players now than they did before. And so I'm hoping that maybe we can eke out an even larger area than would have been there at launch. And I'm wondering if the combination of the two is, going to make the place feel really big, which is hopeful.
And I had similar thoughts, especially, I think I was talking about it with another friend, and one of the things we talked about was the fact that I actually think time was actually a bigger constraint than we realized for Destiny. I think there was definitely an urgency to get it out because they'd already announced it, kind of thing. And so I think they probably didn't get in as much content as they like, which is the case with every game, honestly. So I feel like the Taken King, just with what they've shown, feels like it's going to be so content rich, and the fact that they're just doing the one area, and I've even, in interviews they seem to hint that it's going to be really large, but they obviously don't want to promise,
right?
Because I think it was Luke Smith who said, "I don't ever want to say stuff like that because some player's going to go and throw it in my face in a year." So. But yeah, I definitely get the idea that even if it's not larger, it's going to feel a lot more deep than a lot of the content out so far. But, we'll have to see.
Yeah. The puzzle thing I thought was great. So I think it is, there was the big room. They showed it was an early piece of concept art, and we just never saw what it was. There was speculation that it was inside the Traveler. There was speculation that it was in the Hellmouth, but it's like the big sort of black and green room with the big giant pendulum things hanging from chains.
The bridge of chains or something like that.
Yeah, right. I think that was the name of it. And it was always sort of curious to me what that was going to be because nothing really in the game felt like that. And so then they've got the concept art here, and then they've got the in-game piece, which is, pretty similar. It's obviously like, oh yeah, okay, I see that that influence. But then I believe this was the same spot that during the Taken King trailer, they showed, when they were talking about having to go off and explore and see platforms, they showed a guy, like, he was on the bridge, and then he jumps off to the left, like he's just going to go jump off into the middle of nowhere, and underneath him a pillar appears.
Yeah.
But only because he jumped there. And so, I feel like that's going to be sort of the puzzling. It's going to be trial and error.
Yeah. Well, it seems like the raid, too, is going to have a bit of jumping from the pendulum to pendulum out. Maybe that wasn't the raid, per se, but...
They talked about the raid while showing that, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I missed from Halo, and a lot of that was getting places they didn't want us to be, of course, in Halo. But but I do miss that we're very much walled in Destiny, which I think in a lot of ways they kind of had to do that because getting out of the environment doesn't work as well when you have an online game. But
right.
But yeah, if they can add in moments like that without breaking the game, I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, they talked about somewhere in here. I was looking for the quote and I don't see it, but they talked about adding logic, right? Like interactive logic to the environment. I'm trying to find the quote for it.
I don't remember seeing that.
Is that where they say they're adding new patrol dynamics?
That's the one.
Oh yeah, they kind of hinted at maybe you won't just wait for a public event to happen, but there might be a way to actually call it in to happen yourself.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So that my brain parsed that as interactive environment game logic. Go step on this thing over here, do this thing, shoot that guy, and stuff happens. And there's a little bit of it, I guess, in Patrol right now with the Hive stuff on Earth. So kill the hand of the Hive or whatever he's called in that really dark room where you first encounter the Hive, and then the night and all the exploding Thrall pop in. There's little bits of that, but that's all private area. That's not public zone.
Right.
Yeah, they say we've created a suite of new mechanics and woven them into patrol mode. I expect to find new bounties, patrol missions, and public events, both large and small, some of which you can instigate yourself if you can discover how.
So sneaky.
Yeah. Well, and it fits so perfectly, obviously, with Luke Smith's challenge to them, which was an inscrutable loot-filled fortress, was the design challenge. And that's super exciting, because I think that's how most of us felt when we went into the vault and into the Hellmouth in Crota's End for the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the neat thing about this too is, if you think about it, this is really the first time we're going onto the enemy's home soil, in it, not just the Hive, but any of them really. The moon was ours before the Hive took it over, and so I imagine it'll be similar feeling. But this is straight up a Dreadnaught that was created by the Hive wherever they live and brought to our solar system.
Yeah, my hope is that patrol ends up actually being a difficult or scary thing.
Right. Yeah. Patrol is no longer easy mode, as they said, which that put a smile on my face.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The other thing, moving on just a little bit to Darkblade.
Yes.
You know, at first, when I read this, I thought, okay, Darkblade, he looks like a boss. But as I read it 2 or 3 more times, I think Darkblades are going to be kind of a new class, kind of a super, what do you call them? I was just doing the Zyros.
Sort of like a super knight.
A knight, yeah, super knight. Because what they say here is the Dark Blade, instead of just saying Dark Blade, but the Dark Blade, along with many other Hive abominations, are waiting for you. Oryx has built an army for them to lead. So I get the impression that they're kind of super knights, and we're going to come across more than one Dark Blade.
There won't be just one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really excited about that idea that there'll be some challenge in the patrol. Because right now it really is kind of easy mode, and you have to work pretty hard to die, or you can set down your controller and walk into the other room for a minute.
Or be in the Skywatch when 3 things happen.
Or that, okay, yeah, that, right. But that said, though, I mean, sometimes some friends of I have just sat there and waited for that to happen because of the insanity of what of what that encounter feels like, and it's just so much fun and so intense for just a couple minutes.
Absolutely. I actually went to kill Zyor today on my second Xbox character, and I could not stay alive, and there were 3 other people there with me. And I remember the first time I grabbed a Scorch Cannon thinking, hey, I'm going to see if this wrecks Zyor.
You mean,
I remember
not Zyor. Zyor is the...
yeah, not Zyor. Urzok.
Yeah.
And so I grabbed a Scorch Cannon, fired at Urzok, hold it down, let it charge up to 3 times, let go, expecting his health to just drop by half. It's like somebody sneezed on him.
Yeah. You've got to take his shield out, and it comes back so fast.
Yeah.
Well, that's like, those targets in Prison of Elder that are just like ridiculously difficult to take down.
We usually put a blinding bubble in front of their door and then just shotgun to death.
Right.
Because otherwise they're really hard.
Right. But I just noticed the other day when I was playing it, they're level 35.
Were you doing it in Skolas?
Yeah,
Right, because everything's 35 in there, right?
Is it? I think you're right. It might have been in the 34 though.
I think you commented on the 34.
It was higher level.
Yeah, I think you remember you telling me that in the 34 you noticed that they were 35.
Yeah, it might have been the 34. I'd have to replay it now because now you made me doubt myself, Bjorn.
Oh shucks, you gotta play it again.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I hate that so
you.
much.
It's intense. I did it for the first time on PlayStation. My PlayStation Warlocks are severely underleveled and undergeared at this point. But I have some friends over there. I enjoy playing with them, and we have a good time. But I usually get carried through stuff, and so I needed to get Skolas for the Moments of Triumph, and we went in and we got him. I don't know, like we got him to about a 3rd health twice in a row, and before wiping. and it was just so infuriating because we were doing so well and I just couldn't do the damage output. I was using a 300 Fatebringer, or 300, right? That's what I maxed it out at. And so that etheric light that I got when we actually finished it, I like within 10 seconds I just pulled out Fatebringer and clicked it up a notch. So like, nope, I have to have the damage output.
Is there any of us that wasn't the first etheric light you spent after getting to 34? Because that was my first.
I have 6 365 Fatebringers, and I have 5 characters, and I've got 1 ready for the Titan that I'm about to start on Xbox.
Oh my gosh.
Mine was either Fatebringer or Galahorn. I can't remember.
Well, Galahorn, you don't have to.
Exotic shard.
Yeah, there's no etheric light required.
That's
for the
right.
exotics.
For the record, my first ascended weapon was Hawkmoon.
Mine was Galahorn. Because I was trying to. I think it was because I was trying to beat Skolas. So.
I did like Galahorn, Mida multi-tool, probably. Oh, Icebreaker. I spent a bunch of shards all at once.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
did Hawk Moon, all 3 Galahorns, all 3 Icebreakers.
But for me
Luckily,
though, with Etheric Light, I actually didn't spend it on weapons for a long time. I was trying to get to 34
yeah, same.
quickly.
Same here.
Because that percentage difference for just the level split made such a huge change.
So now, Bjorn, are you just running Warlocks on PlayStation?
I am, and yeah, on Xbox I've got one of each, and then on PlayStation I have a pair of Warlocks. And
To speed up leveling, I'm guessing.
exactly, because I don't play there very frequently, so that when I actually do get a chance to play and drop in and do Nightfalls and level up some gear, I'll have at least one of them, built up.
Well, now you and I seem to have switched places because I was PS4 mainly, and then the last 3, maybe 4 weeks, I've been almost exclusively Xbox, just going to PlayStation once a week. And it seems like I see you on PlayStation all the time now, and I don't get to play with you on Xbox.
That's really funny. I feel like I'm never on PlayStation. I've been on, I think, like 2 or 3 times this week.
2 or 3 times is never, huh?
Yeah, that's what I was.
Well, not this week. Like these last couple of weeks. I think probably in the last 2 weeks, it's been 2 or 3 times, and it was very specific. Like my buddy texted me. He said, "Okay, can we do Skullhouse now?" I said, "Yeah, that sounds good."
So now do you have your moments of triumph over there yet?
I don't. I need 25 public events. I need to go, and I meant to do it actually the other day. I was yesterday morning. I sat down and I said, "Okay, I'm going to do the moments of triumph. I'm going to get a couple of public events under my belt." And I was halfway through the first mission, and somebody texted me. I said, "Hey, want to do this on Xbox?" I'm like, okay. I think it was you, Earendil. It might have been.
It might have been.
Might have been. But it must have been like Thursday or something. It all bleeds together.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, so taking a step back and to sort of reintroduce our special guests, I was going to ask you guys how you got into the whole Bungie scene and just what your experience with being a Bungie fan has been like for the last, well, you guys have both been at it for a while. But how about you, Earendil? Let's start with you.
All right. So, first introduction to Bungie was probably my dad bringing home Marathon 2 for me as a birthday present at an age I won't specify.
It was the same age I was. I know that.
Yes, it was. And so from there, I played the Marathon games, but wasn't really involved in the community at that point. Then started playing Myth: The Fallen Lords, another Bungie game, and that's where I started getting into the community.
Yeah.
And part of that was that it had an online multiplayer aspect to it that you didn't have to know an IP address to actually get going, right?
Right, yeah, it didn't have the rooms.
Yeah, and in fact, here's a nice embarrassing young internet moment. I downloaded the demo for that game, and there was this button after launching the game that said multiplayer. I was like, well, okay, sure. I don't have an IP address for a friend, but let's just see what the menu looks like. And it threw me into this room with these weird named people. And someone said something, but it was like a single word. And my first words were, "Are you guys real?" I was like, I was blown away by this chat room that I could just kind of like jump into, and there were no games hosted either, so it wasn't really clear to me what exactly was going on. And then games started being hosted. So Myth, that's where I really got into it, and then was part of the whole Halo launch and the Microsoft buyout, and I got to be angry and
Went through the 7 stages.
Yeah. Then kind of faded through the middle of Halo due to college, and then came back for Destiny pretty strong.
Yeah, sounds familiar. And how about you, Speedracer?
Well, so the original Xbox came out when I was a freshman in college, and about 4 guys on our floor at the dorms bought Xboxes, and Halo was the game to play. So we hooked all those up in the commons room all the time, and we were landing there. And so that was my first introduction really to a Bungie game. Played Halo a bunch my freshman year. I didn't own my own console, though. Went after my first year of college, went to Brazil for 2 years, came back. Finally bought an Xbox right in time for Halo 2 to come out. Of course, played all the rest of the Halos. But I was in college and law school, so that was mostly just I'd get on Friday nights, play from about 10 p.m. till 4 a.m. At some point along the way, I went back and played Marathon, and so I kind of claimed to go all the way back there. Although I didn't get introduced to Marathon until after Halo. When it came time for when Destiny was first announced, really, and I knew I was going to want to kind of join more of a community to play with and not just go to matchmaking, especially because it was going to be so based on fire teams. I had seen the Halo 2 DVD and saw the line at Claude's house. I had lurked on HBO for years, never really posting, and so I just figured, well, Destiny.Bungie.Org seems like the right place for me to make a username and start posting, and started joining a lot of community nights there. So that's kind of how I came to the community. But yeah, it goes back to freshman year of college when Halo came out.
Now, I'm curious, did you make it all the way through all 3 Marathon games by going backwards and deciding to play them?
Honestly, no. I've played the first one multiple times. I've played the second one, and I have still actually never finished Infinity. Which
good luck wrapping your head around Infinity. It's weird.
I've got it
I'll
downloaded.
admit that might be true of me as well. I don't know if I have finished Infinity.
So oddly enough,
just use the guide.
I finished Infinity, and I didn't realize. I had no idea what happened. I got to a certain point with it where I was just playing it and gave up on trying to figure out the story. And after the fact, like many years, I went back and read like what was supposed to be happening. Like, oh,
so you mean like story wise, or how to get past this level?
No. Story wise, I actually managed to finish the game, but it was just bizarre because it gets cyclical, and you can branch off into different stories depending on how things go, and it has this bizarre mission structure that it doesn't make a lot of sense when you're sitting down to try to play it straight through.
You have to, like you said, you can get to the end and be like, I have no idea what just happened.
Yeah,
because you missed a bunch of terminals, whereas with Marathon 1 and Marathon 2, you can miss quite a few terminals, but as long as you're reading the ones you have to read, you have to.
Yeah, everything else is just flavor.
You get the story.
Right.
So it could be that I actually finished Marathon Infinity and didn't really realize it.
Could be. Yeah.
So on marathon.org, does it tell you which terminal to go to in which order?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, the story page has there's a whole bunch of stuff there. There's some actually really great walkthroughs.
Spent a lot of hours reading the story page.
Yeah. Me too. How about you, Xenos? We never talked about this. Like sort of where we came from.
Mine's pretty similar to Earendil's, actually. My brother came home from college, and he'd gotten Marathon, and while he'd been playing the story, he wanted to play the multiplayer, but nobody else had a Mac at college when, back then nobody had Macs,
right?
At least relatively speaking.
This is Marathon 1.
Yeah, So we hooked up an Apple Talk network, and played me, him, and my other brother against each other in Marathon.
Did you use the voice chat?
No, we were in the same room.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, this is amazing, because back then, there wasn't really much multiplayer, at least not for that type of game.
Oh, heck no.
There was Doom and stuff like that, and people talked about doing Doom Deathmatch, but it was kind of a pain to set it up. And the fact that Apple Talk was so easy, I think I went to school and was telling everybody about it, and a bunch of people said I was lying because they were like, oh, well, you just have a Mac. You're trying to feel better about yourself because you have a Mac. And
this was still pre-Quake and stuff by a year or two, wasn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In 94.
And that's how I got into Bungie. I didn't really know who they were because I was pretty young at the time. But, I bought Marathon 2, I bought Marathon Infinity, and then I kind of missed Myth for the most part. But got Oni, and then Halo was coming out, and everybody was super excited about it. And I remember going to my friends and being like, this is the people, these are the guys that I was trying to tell you guys about. And yeah, that's basically my story. I lurked a lot on Bungie.org. I was even on the Marathon story page because I got stuck in Marathon Infinity way back in the day, and never really posted anything. I looked up the other day, my first post on any Bungie.org site was in 2002, and it's a very embarrassing post that I'm not going to share. But
Quick, everybody find it. We'll have to have a prize for someone who finds it first.
but yeah, I think I think when I checked, I think I had 6 messages total on almost all of Halo.Bungie.Org.
Wow,
And
that's
then
impressive.
when Destiny came out or was announced, kind of the same thing as Speedracer, I realized this is my chance to get in kind of on the ground level and feel it, and on a new site, be on a new forum. So I jumped in, and I think I posted within the first day that DBO was launched, and haven't looked back since.
Well, then you organized a bunch of those Halo nights in the months leading up to Destiny too.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like we all have pretty similar stories. I started not Marathon 1. I started with Marathon 2, and I didn't play Marathon 1 until years later. But I remember when I got Marathon Infinity, the very first... I was so excited that it arrived. I popped it in, and the very first thing I did was I started playing with Forge.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't actually play the game for days because I was in Forge, and it came with these videos. They actually had screencast videos that I forget even who narrated them. I wouldn't be surprised if it was one of the big names at Bungie, and you could go through and watch how Forge worked. And so I remember watching those and then saying, okay, I'm going to build my own little map, and they all sucked. But yeah. I managed to I got really into Myth. Me and then I got my dad into Myth too. He doesn't do first person shooters. He's just not into them. But he got into Myth pretty fiercely with me. And he had a coworker who he and his sons all played Myth. And I remember like one of the Mac Worlds, like Boston or something, Bungie was selling Myth t-shirts. And so my dad's coworker picked up a Myth t-shirt for me. So I had like a terrifying thrall on my t-shirt. And but yeah, I mean, I definitely got into Myth, and then did the whole Halo thing and sort of converted a bunch of friends. I don't know how many Xboxes I ended up like being the cause of purchase for. we had a fair number. We started doing LAN parties. It was like me and another friend, and then the next one, somebody would show up, be like, yeah, I bought an Xbox too. And, we're going to hook this up. And then eventually we had like 5 or 6 Xboxes. So that was great. But yeah, we did that. And then, yeah, college was a little tricky, but the advent of Xbox Live, I think, helped a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I actually met, it's really bizarre, one of my good friends, old Fire Thief, actually. He and I met playing Halo at college. I was in one dorm, and he was with another buddy in another dorm. And we were like the only 2 people who had Xboxes, and we could play Halo against each other. So we did head to head, and at the time, I was much better than Fire Thief. He got good pretty quickly. But at the time, we did 2v1, and we'd do like these 2v1 death matches up to like some crazy amount of points. And I remember the next year. So this was like freshman year. We never actually met. And then the next year, I was walking upstairs to my dorm, different dorm, and this guy, like our neighbor a couple down, like overheard us. And one of my roommates said something about Beorn. And he's like, dude, you're Beorn? Like, yeah. He's like, he used to go by Icarus. That was his name. He's like, I'm Icarus. Like, we played with so-and-so. And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that. We had we did those matches against each other. We had a great time. And so we just hit it off, and still friends. And so that was like really cool. Got my sister into Halo, which then she married a guy she met playing Halo, and that was awesome. Yeah, it was really cool. They dated for like 7 years or longer, I forget. And yeah, so there have been a lot of Xboxes sold through like me playing with people and sort of setting up just like it's fun to play with people. And so that was what was really cool about Destiny for me when it originally launched, was the idea of just more bringing people in, because that's when I had my most fun. Halo got sort of, not boring, but it sort of fell out of favor for me when it was just me playing. I could go through the missions. I played Legendary, and I was like, okay, that's great. But when you're able to play with friends, that makes all the difference. And I've clocked a lot of hours on Destiny so far.
Should we compare?
No. I'm sure with you 5 Guardians, and yeah, if you got 6 Fatebringers, you're ahead of me by 4.
We really shouldn't start measuring our time on Destiny by the number of Fatebringers we have.
Unfortunately, I think somebody that played half the hours could have more than us. That's the problem.
That's true. It's all about luck of the roll.
Well, Blue Runner just got his first a couple weeks ago, right?
I've only ever gotten 1, and I've beaten hard Vault of Glass probably a dozen times.
Well, and I've actually collected at least 10. There's been twice that I got 2 Fatebringers on one drop on Vault of Glass.
Oh my gosh.
And everybody else hates you.
No.
Well, hey, if I didn't have my Hawkman yet, I would be I'd be just like Cody right there with him. I'd be still whining about the Hawkmoon.
Yeah, I can't believe I actually have a Hawkmoon on PlayStation. Of all the things, I have Monte Carlo and I have Hawkmoon, and my other exotics are purchased from Xur. And then, I think I got a Red Death one time, but
You have a 4th Horseman?
no, I don't.
That one's fun.
And that's what I hear. Looking forward to it on Xbox, which that's coming up. I mean,
Yeah.
Taken King, right? That's when it all switches over.
Yeah.
6 weeks, it'll be some way we'll be able to get it. I highly doubt it's just gonna all of a sudden Xur's gonna be selling one of them week 1, but
No, it'll be really interesting though to see, especially Hawkmoon in PvP. Because over on PlayStation, it is such a different beast. It plays differently than any other hand cannon on Xbox.
I think it's the most distinctive sounding gun in the game, honestly.
Yeah, it's got a great
more
sound.
so than Thorn.
Yeah, Thorn's sort of subtle, right? I mean,
Thorn's got the crack.
Yeah, but when Hawkmoon,
you can hear
across the map. It's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah,
No
that
problem.
guy's got a Hawkmoon. He's gonna try to headshot you across the map.
Well, and that's one reason I was never annoyed by the limited exclusivity for Xbox, is because Taken King is now a bigger expansion for me because of it. And since it's such a small amount of content, I was never really that concerned about it. So it's like, oh, now this Taken King expansion is going to be just that much better.
Yeah, it includes 2 extra strikes, 2 extra maps.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to see how all that. The Xbox community is gonna have a lot of fun, I think, with just the quote new content on top of all the actual new content.
Well,
And they're also going to change up the maps a little bit too, right? Aren't they releasing one of the strikes and changing it up?
Apparently, both of the exclusive strikes are going to have a Taken variant, where it's the same strike, but you play against the Taken. But I'm pretty sure they said that they're going to maintain the current version
as well. Yeah, it'll be
as
like
the
a
big
menu
version.
select option.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, though, if the old versions ever show up in weekly strikes.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting. I don't see why they wouldn't, right?
So one thing I don't think we've talked about yet, because this was last week, is the foundries. We didn't talk about the foundries, and since we're talking about weapons just a minute ago.
We didn't talk about foundries, did we?
No.
Yeah, I guess
this
talked
is why
about
we have
faction a
Xenos.
little bit, but I don't think it had to do with the weapons.
No, because I would have waxed on and on about. Yeah.
I'm very excited about the Dreadnaught stuff, but I kind of knew going into it they were going to be a little bit more hinty at it about it than.
Oh yeah, and we don't
Show
want
some
them
pretty
to be.
pictures, but not talk too much.
Yeah, and that's
And
great.
on that note, I'm a little torn. They obviously said they're going to do another stream. I'm not sure if I'm going to watch the stream.
Yep, I was feeling
I
the
I think I
feel the
might
same way.
want to go in dark.
Absolutely agreed, actually.
I don't
I don't think I'm going to watch it.
The problem is, Bjorn, some of us are going to have to watch it if we're going to do a podcast about it.
Well, we'll let Levi handle that since he's not here to defend himself.
Levi and Claude, you are nominated, and everybody that agrees, say aye.
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 Motion carries.
But yeah,
This is.
So
I like this dictatorship. This is good.
hey, that was all democracy.
I was going to make a joke. Weren't we talking on the forums about how Xenos was supposed to get rid of Claude when he came on as an admin? And I was going to make a joke that I'm Claude's replacement, but couldn't think of a good way to do it.
Nah, you got to have a better beard.
Exactly.
No, but my point was the foundries were a lot more detailed than I was expecting. I was expecting just pictures of weapons, and we actually got quite a bit of information.
Yeah,
from that
I like
update.
the description, the idea that each foundry has a unique
Philosophy.
thank you, exactly, philosophy.
And me and Speed have talked about this quite a bit. I love the look of Amalon and Hake the most, and I'm not a big fan of the Suros design because of the
Heathen.
plastic shell looking thing on all the guns. But the philosophy behind Suros I love. The fact that it's designed to be, or that all the guns are designed to be a versatile weapon that you can just change a couple talents, and it goes from being, like, for example, a really good long range scout rifle to a pretty decent medium range scout rifle. I love that idea because I know right now pretty much the only option we have is a really long range scope, which most people never use, or the super short range scope that people leave on 90% of the time. And one of the things I remember seeing from E3 is you can actually see that there's long range scopes that highlight enemies that are within the ideal range to shoot them at.
Oh, really? Like sort of like Death Cam, you get that red outline, but like a different sort of effect?
And I'm not sure because I just saw the perk on one of the guns, but yeah, it highlights them in some way. So basically, if they're, beyond the drop-off point, I would imagine they're not highlighted.
That made me kind of think of Forza and how you can turn on the arrows on the track to show you if you're wanting to speed up, and slow down. And I like that concept for the scope on a gun like that. It teaches you how to use it.
So even though I don't really like the kind of plasticky look of Suros, I'm actually really excited to use them.
I still have to say they look pretty good. I'm looking at them right now.
Oh yeah, they still look good. It's just out of the 3 shown, I think they were my least favorite looking.
Yeah, we were having fun in the chat talking about the different weapon foundries and comparing them to different car makers or motorcycles. And I was saying the Suros is definitely the Honda Bullet bike. The Hake is your Harley Davidson, and Omalon is your BMW touring bike.
Yeah, I go with that.
Really?
Looks-wise.
BMW touring? Oh, looks-wise. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because the description is like experimental, bordering on irresponsible, which
Well,
BMW touring bike doesn't exactly fit that description.
Maybe not touring, but I mean BMW is the ultimate driving machine. They're more experimental with. I think they're. Anyways,
I think I countered by comparing it to Tesla.
yeah, he did.
I really like that Amalon sniper rifle. There's something about. At first, I was a little off-put by it because it's just like a giant rectangle block thing. But sort of the more I looked at it, and then the way it looks in game, it's pretty distinctive, and I love the look of it.
Well,
I was a little disappointed. I think maybe this is what Xenos is going to say, but we had talked about how they didn't show any of the Omalon ones that were kind of just a frame. And back during E3, when we saw some of that footage coming out, there were the Omalon scout rifle that was more framey in nature.
Yeah, and the scout they show here is very different.
And I hope that means the frame version isn't gone.
And going off into speculation here, when they posted the artist pages, I think it was this week, for each of the, basically a ton of Bungie artists, the guy that designed the Amalon weapons, or at least helped design them, had both guns on his page, and one of them was called Amalon Rifle A, and one of them was called Amalon Rifle B. So I'm hoping that means there's going to be more than one version, not just perk-wise and everything, but looks-wise.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised
for each of these foundries.
If they really are having more weapons in the Taken King being introduced than the entire rest of the game has right now.
Yeah,
like there's no other way to go about it than to have a whole product line.
Now, what do you guys think the chances are? Obviously, with them showing the pictures they did, and they're fairly plain looking, with that look like they could be modified a bit. And we know if we look at the community wish list that Deej and now Cosmo are maintaining, weapon shaders are one of the top 3 or 4 items. You guys think there's any chance weapon shaders are coming with these weapons?
I think it's possible. I think with that kind of feature, they'd probably hold off in announcing it. Mm-hmm. And they may not even announce it ahead of time. That wouldn't surprise me. But I think if we're going to hear about that, it's going to be a lot closer to the launch.
Yeah, you are right, though. They are very plain, and they look like a fresh canvas.
Exactly.
And it makes more sense with these sort of produced weapons that we would be able to customize their color as opposed to a thorn that we find out in the woods that has, some sort of history behind it.
Well, and
Absolutely.
even a lot of the non-exotic weapons in Destiny feel like we're getting somebody's used gun, like it's been well used, and I don't really get that impression with these guns at all. It looks like the foundry is literally giving them to you right off the line.
Yeah,
They're shipping them
Absolutely.
up on those on the ships going to the tower.
Yeah,
I especially got that impression with the Hawkeye stuff, and if you notice too, a lot of that weekly update talked about the foundries, the pictures that the art that they showed right next to the in-game screenshots. In almost every instance, the gun that was being held by a Guardian in the in-game screenshot had the same frame, but had a little bit different of a, for lack of a better word, shader on top of it.
yeah.
Yeah, well, like you mean so specifically, I'm looking here. The Titan shooting the Hawkei auto rifle is very sort of tan and white colored, and
Right.
the weapon that he's holding is the same color.
But if you look, especially Suros, if you look at Suros, they're just white in the concept pictures.
Mhm.
And then if you look at the guns they're holding, they have details on them. And I mean, if you look at, like, for example, the rocket launcher, like the back half of the rocket launcher is completely covered by like a dragon
Yeah.
icon.
Well, and the Hawkeye shotgun, the one they show there, and the one that hunter is holding while sliding, definitely has more color to it. And that could just be, I would think that maybe it's just a difference of this is the plain model, and we added the art later. But I get a notion that we are going to be able to make these look a little bit more how we want them to look.
And I hope so. That'd be really cool. I think another thing that's interesting about this, which came out this week, or was it right after the update last week, is GameStop accidentally announced the Suros pre-order pack, and everybody guessed by the wording that it was a GameStop exclusive. And it turns out it's not a GameStop exclusive. Everybody that pre-orders the game is going to get it, which is super exciting to me because it means we're going to have some of the Foundry weapons to try at the start. And then on top of that, like if you go to Amazon, I think it's one of the ones that shows it, they also show Hawkeye weapons that you get for pre-ordering. So it sounds like we're going to get like up to 6 weapons right out of the bat that we get to try to see kind of what their new gun philosophy is on day one, which is really cool.
I wonder if, given the description of the perks that you mentioned earlier, if part of that will be to help people coming onto Destiny for the first time get sort of an arsenal, but also an arsenal that can be kind of switched up and changed and teach them how to use the guns.
As
That's
they
possible.
learn that they like one perk more than another.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a scout rifle that can be changed on the fly between a closer range or a longer range weapon more easily, then it's a weapon that's a bit more useful. You don't have to acquire 2 different scout rifles.
Right, and level up 2 different scout rifles.
Right, exactly. Right at the beginning, as you're thinking the entire time, gosh, I wish I could catch up to every other Guardian that's around me.
And quite frankly, yeah, that's exactly how I felt on PlayStation 4 because I started late. I technically started. My PlayStation 4 disc arrived, and then my Xbox disc arrived a couple hours later. So my PlayStation 4 Warlock sat at level 4 for like 5 months. And yeah, when I came back, I was way behind the curve.
Well, and even for people that are already in the game, the only reason to switch up guns a lot of time is just for variety. Because I mean, I think like we all talked about, Fatebringer's our go-to PvE gun. I'm using Fatebringer probably 70% of the time that I'm playing PvE, if not more. And the fact that they're going to make these guns more interesting, I think is going to entice people to use them more often, which I'm really excited about. I love my Fatebringer, don't get me wrong, but I do feel like it's kind of added a blandness to the play style of both PvP and PvE when there's only really a couple good options to choose from, and everything else is good, but it's just not quite up to snuff with the best stuff in the game.
most of the missions I do, especially if it's a nightfall or something, I'll go in with a different scout rifle or something that I just want to try playing around with a bit. But I reach a point halfway through that mission where, like, especially if I'm shooting Thrall coming at me or something, like if I had my Fatebringer, these guys would all be exploding with Firefly and explosive rounds, and I'd be killing 5 per shot instead of the scout rifle that's taking 2 shots to kill each one. And so I end up switching halfway through the mission, and that happens almost all the time.
Yep. I like that idea, though, Earendil, that sort of fast-tracking the new people and giving like the full taste of the spectrum, because they are, I think, really trying to get some new player. Like, they're not going to settle for the current player base. They want to add new players, and you've got to do something to make the gameplay okay for those people who have not been playing for a year, and they need to feel that they've got an equal, hand in their characters, because otherwise it wouldn't be any fun.
Well, and they have to do it without, like, handing them the game and then handing them a Galahorn on day one.
Right.
Either, right? They're gonna upset the existing player base.
That will happen to somebody. Somebody's be like, "Yeah, I never played Destiny before, and I got this Galahorn thing. Is it any good?"
Well, the funny thing is, though, it'll be nerfed at that point. So even when people say stuff like, "Oh, I got Dragon's Breath," we'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's great. That's great rocket launcher too."
I still have yet to shoot mine.
It's fun. You need to do it.
I think I'll hold out as long as it'll be like a podcast joke. How many years can Beorn go without firing his Dragon's Breath?
I am dead serious with this. I'm planning to switch to that as my main heavy damage dealer after the Taken King comes out.
Does it have a really big blast radius, like initial hit?
It's I'm not sure, because its blast radius is mostly the solar, basically the solar grenade that the Warlock has. So it's pretty big. I mean, it's definitely not small. I actually, yeah. But speaking about new people getting guns, I even have a couple of friends that don't play as much as us crazy DBO-ish play, and just getting those 6 guns is probably going to double the number of legendary guns that they have.
Yep. So Earendil, what is your primary weapon of choice, like archetype?
Oh, scout rifle.
Why is that?
I was going to ask you whether you meant PvP or PvE, and it doesn't matter. Scout rifle. I try to be a more methodical, slower player that doesn't like to get into the chaos of things. I have a brother who also plays Destiny and plays and played Halo. And back then he was still better than me. But when Bungie started releasing the stats on kill distance, my kill distance was twice what his was. Whatever metric they were using. And it's held true for Destiny too. I prefer to kill at a much longer distance than close. Now, that said, I also play as a Sunsinger, and I love slapping people. So
got that change up, yeah. How about you, Speedracer?
Oh, hand cannon. It's not even close.
For both game types?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember back in I don't remember if it was the alpha or the beta, I wanted to like the hand cannons and just didn't feel like they were doing enough damage, so I was scout rifle. And then when the game came out, I thought I'd be a scout rifle user because of that, but the hand cannons had been bumped up to where maybe they should have been. Maybe they were a little too powerful. But no, when I'm on PlayStation, it's either Hawkmoon or Fatebringer almost all the time.
You just wish you could dual wield them.
Yeah, I don't need to. I mean, they do so much damage.
I still would love to see dual wielding hand cannons, like one that does like bonus body damage, one that does bonus precision damage, or something like that.
Could be like a sidearm.
I still
thing.
use scout rifles a fair amount when I want to change things up, and like Earendil, my style is I like to hang back and shoot things from a distance and not get up into the heat of the battle. That's why I'm a hunter at heart. At the same time, though, these hand cannons can kill from a distance. So,
do you think that's going to change in a month?
I don't think so. I think hand cannons are still going to be the death machines. I mean, I think I might have to get about 10 feet closer to continue what I'm doing with them. 10 or 20 feet closer, but that's about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's mostly to stop the really crazy people in Crucible that just kind of sit back with a sniper and a hand cannon and never get anywhere close to it all.
And then snipe with the hand cannon. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Well, and I don't know what I'm going to do in Iron Banner when I'm trying to get that Iron Wrath bounty, and I can't just sit back by my spawn with Thorn and just tag people and get assists all day long.
Oh, is that the
That's
strategy?
how you get your... Absolutely, yeah. I try to keep 2 or 3 of my teammates near me.
I'm not that
and
smart.
I'll just ping them, and I try to get some kills, but Thorn is the reason I get Iron Wrath almost every night.
I usually play normally, and at a certain point I'll think, I haven't died in a while. Am I on a streak?
That's the way to end it right there.
Yeah.
Exactly. Link shotgun in the face by those terrible Void Walkers.
See, my plan is always wait till heavy comes out, see if I get a heavy streak, and then end it with a super. That's my plan every time.
Yeah, I'm definitely a scout rifle person. Mida multi-tool, I feel like it was made for me. I wish it hit a little harder. I keep trying it in PvP, and it's just not quite there.
I was going to ask, what do you use in PvP?
Well, so like if I'm playing Trials, it's Thorn because I have to. It's almost the only game in town because I can't. We talked about this before, but I'm not that great with Last Word. I've been practicing. I've been trying to get a little better, but Thorn, it just has that crazy impact, and you can fire it pretty quickly, and it's so precise.
For the record, Last Word users are just as evil as Thorn users.
Yeah,
I use both, but
yeah.
But
if I had my druthers, if I felt like the weapons were mostly equal, it's not even the poison damage really for Thorn that bothers me. It's the long distance, crazy high impact precision because it hits like a sniper rifle almost.
Well, I would say it's that plus the poison because it's like,
and it's so disorienting, the poison.
Right.
Well, no, especially on like Pantheon.
Yeah.
We run to that sniper lane. I like to snipe, and so I'll go in that sniper lane. I'll get hit once and back off and notice I'm burning. And I'm like, what sniper rifle has a persistent damage burning?
Exactly.
And then I realize, oh, that was Thorn.
Yeah. So if I'm fully expecting, and this may not actually pan out, but I'm expecting that after the Taken King launches, I'm going to probably switch back to Scout Rifle as my primary and use Mida like in Trials because I really love the precision, and I do like to hang back, but the agility boost is huge. I like getting from point A to point B quickly, in and out. I can get if I know there's a bad situation coming and I see like that Titan charging me, I can jump backwards and gets me just that much further away.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely a hand cannon person, and I think probably the thing I love the most about it is it's by far the most accurate gun while you're jumping.
Mm-hmm.
And as a gunslinger being my primary, that's just enough boost that if I damage someone but I'm damaged too, I'll jump towards them and finish them off up close. And
See, I jump away. I never jump towards.
So I got Jewel of Osiris last week, a solar Jewel of Osiris hand cannon, and it has the perk on it that when you are moving through the air, it has increased accuracy.
I want that.
It's the only gun I have that has it, and I wasn't sure how that would play out because even though I know better than to, I try to jump and shoot stuff, and it hits, I don't know, like 5% of the time, maybe. You sort of have to like aim away and hope that it's going to purposefully miss into the thing you're trying to actually hit.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. Like I just unlocked the perk, and I've only played a couple games, but I was in the Iron Banner, and I'd like charge in, and I'd go right at a guy. I'd be in the middle of the air, and I just bam, bam, and I could hit him 2 or 3 times while I'm in the air before he's even expecting it.
You just don't get that precision
because he's expecting. I'm closing, and he's expecting it's going to be a shotgun or something. So that's what he's going for, and the precision hits from that closing distance is such a big deal.
Yep.
So is that a perk that is different than the other weapons that have the increased precision in the air?
No, I just don't have any others that do it.
It's the same one, but sometimes perks are more useful on one archetype than another.
Yeah, because I got that on a scout rifle once, and I went and I tested it, and it didn't help hardly at all.
Well, and part of the thing is, and this is tested online, is hand cannons are the most accurate in the air.
All right, like just to begin with.
Right, scout rifles just have a huge drop in accuracy when you jump. And everything does, but the hand cannons are just a significant amount less. I mean, what I do is, when I say I jump towards people, is I basically use the last one or two shots like a shotgun. So it's like if they are pretty much filling my screen, that's when I pull the trigger. And
what gun are you using?
It works. I use Fulcrum.
Okay.
Fulcrum's my Crucible baby when I'm not playing Trials.
That's a great gun.
So I will say this about scout rifles, that I do use a fair number of hand cannons, and part of that is that they're a little bit better, in particular in PvP. But they're also just more fun. They have more fun perks or more interesting perks. I mean, there aren't, like, you can get Firefly on a scout rifle, but there's nothing like what Fatebringer has.
Can you actually get a Firefly anymore?
Not on hand cannons, but you can on.
Oh, they only pulled it off of hand cannons. Okay.
Yeah. So there's not, I mean, like, I would love to have a damage over time, even if it was really minor, on a scout rifle. Because that's one of the things I love about Thorn, is being able to track a person after I've hit them once. Because I can land a
running
fire
around the corner
grenade on them as long as I know where they've landed or where they've stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually just that poison is a big part of the reason I started using Red Death in Trials a lot more, is because if I can finish the other guy off when you don't have Red Death, a lot of times you burn to death or somebody else finishes you off because your shield's not recharging. And just having the fact that you stop burning is such a big deal.
When you are burning and you finish off someone with Red Death, does it just stop the burn, or does it actually actively heal you?
It
heals you almost immediately.
It depends. Sometimes it'll only stop the burn, and sometimes it'll heal you, and I haven't been able to figure out why.
As a Thorn user, and I'm not proud of that. You know, like I said, if I'm on PlayStation, I use Hawkmoon. But I do use Thorn primarily on Xbox, and there's nothing that makes me more mad as a Thorn user than dying to when I know that guy was like one tick away from being poisoned to death, and I see his health bar just immediately start increasing.
Yep.
But,
No fusion rifle love.
I want to like scout rifles more, but
I'm excited to love fusion rifles again. I know a lot of people are worried about the nerfs, but because of the shotgun nerfs, I'm fully expecting to use fusion rifles again. So
I'm not convinced that it's. As I read it, I still think that shotguns aren't getting nerfed enough, and fusion rifles really aren't getting buffed. They're just getting tweaked a little bit, and I think shotguns are still going to be king.
You don't think a 70% decrease in advantage is going to be enough?
Is that the
70% decrease in what?
Yeah, I can't remember which one it is. It's either rangefinder or what's the other one? Shot package is getting decreased by like 70%.
I guess, but it's I don't know. The damage is only getting decreased by 10%, and the thing about the reason I don't think it's going to affect fusion rifles too much is because even though shotguns are getting nerfed a decent amount, fusion rifles, to me, that still is a little bit of a nerf, because you're going to have to be even more precise with your. You know, I haven't read it in a while, but my problem with fusion rifles currently, I felt like they were kind of just taking that step further instead of backing off and making them better again.
Yeah, I'm just because of the way they worded it, I'm pretty convinced that fusion rifles are gonna take back the place that they lost when those perks became a big deal with shotguns.
Yeah, I hope so.
And I could be wrong. We'll find out.
So I'm thinking that shotguns are still going to remain a pretty big deal, because there are a lot of maps where you run into people around a corner. Mm-hmm. Like, that just exists on. There's not a Blood Gulch, or there's not a common, similar sort of map where
there is, and nobody likes it. It's called Sky Shock. I love that map.
Oh, I love that map too.
Everyone else I know hates it. They're like, that game never finishes. I was like, I know. I love a 20-minute game that feels slow because I get to snipe across the map.
Exactly. But I think the shotguns are almost always going to be in the majority of people's second slot in a small, especially in a 6v6. When I go into Trials of Osiris, and I'm Earendil, I've never made it to the lighthouse, so take any of my comments with a grain of salt. but people don't use shotguns as much because nobody is running around corners blindly with a red mark on their radar.
Right.
You use shotguns if you need to take out a Sunsinger that just came back, right? And there are some maps where you can still do it, but the idea is it is slower, so shotguns aren't used as much. But in a 6v6, in a regular small map, like there's just enough chaos, you're going to die to shotguns left and right.
Right. And I'm sorry, I was wrong. I got the numbers inverted. It's being reduced by 30% for shot package.
Okay.
And from 20% to 5% for rangefinder.
Yeah, well, the thing is, shotguns don't have a charge time. Fusion
Right.
rifles do. So
Well,
the
yeah,
only
but-
time fusion rifles are going to excel is if they have a crazy range, where that charge time is mitigated by the fact that they can hit you from a lot further away.
Well,
And I'm not convinced that'll be the case.
I disagree for one reason, which is the real problem, because I still, to this day, have more kills with fusion rifles in Crucible than with any other special weapon. That was the class of weapons that I used in Crucible. But then, of course, Fellwinter's Lie happened, and it just wasn't viable anymore. But the thing is, the real reason why fusion rifles were great before that was not because not just because of the distance. It was because you could survive a shotgun blast and then hit them. So it was the fact that they would pull the trigger because they saw you charging and they wouldn't be able to finish you off. And Fellwinter
Too far away.
changed that because you died instead of living with just a little bit of health. And just reducing it by 30% is going to be a huge deal, because at the extreme range that Fellwinter can kill you now, I can survive and I can kill you with my fusion rifle. And I'm super, super excited about that. Because
I absolutely hope you're right.
Yeah, we'll see. Both of us could be wrong. We'll find out.
So Earendil brought up something that I was going to ask about, and I wasn't sure how to segue into it. But since he said the magic word, I wanted to spend a few minutes and just sort of get some reads from you guys on the lighthouse, the idea of the lighthouse, what it takes to get there, what your thoughts about it are.
Are you bringing this up because you just made it there this last week?
No. I've been meaning to talk about
Chance
it.
to brag.
I've been meaning to talk about it.
I think this is a pretty good group, because 2 of us have made it to the lighthouse and 2 of us have not made it to the lighthouse.
Right. I figured it would be a good discussion topic.
Who wants to go first? I feel like as the person that's been there the most, I should probably wait to hear what you guys think.
See, look at that. Look at he just brilliantly
Yeah. You just took that away from you.
I slept and I woke up and I was at the lighthouse. It was amazing.
Did Speedracer just get dropped? I think he just got dropped. That's too bad.
And banned. That's weird.
I gotta say, I was very impressed last Saturday. I think we were doing a raid or something, and as I was going to bed, I thought, "Oh yeah, they're doing trials. I'm gonna jump on Twitch and see how they're doing." And I got on with just enough time to see you guys win 2.5 rounds of your final match and go straight to the lighthouse. So I was pretty impressed. You guys went 7-0 without hardly dropping around.
So that was the most bizarre thing. I've played not a lot, a fair amount of trials, and nothing in Destiny or any other game I've played, I think, has been so soul crushing as Trials of Osiris. It is just unreal how much of a mood swing I have when I play that game.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like last week we were just talking about it and we said, yeah, let's see if we can, let's make a stab at it. And fully expecting that it's going to be like every other time I've played Trials, which has just been hard. It's always been hard, and it's always been just heartbreaking whenever we get close enough and then just get crushed. Usually it's different to go like 6 or, like 5 or 6 games and then get stomped on versus just getting stomped all morning, which is what happened to me yesterday. And I don't know if you saw the stream yesterday. It was as opposite as it could be from last week. And then we signed on and we were playing, and we were all doing pretty okay. No one like ran away with all the kills or was carrying anybody else. It was completely just luck of the draw with who we happened to get matched with. And I think a little bit of the benefit was the changing of the maps. It was a little more variant. I feel like maybe people decided to come in and play because it was map potpourri rather than just one. That, you know, certain people are really, really good on certain maps. And yeah, I was shocked at how well we did last week. And it almost felt like, I don't know, like cheating or something. It was just such a cakewalk for us when the same group of people have been through and we've had such a hard time. We didn't bleed that round, you know, going through. We just sort of walked through it, and it was very strange to me, and I wonder what the matchmaking system looks like behind the scenes. I don't know why that time was so dramatically different than everything else we've played.
So this is something I've wondered about with the Lighthouse. Like, I love the idea that there is this hard thing to achieve, right? I enjoy things that are not like, oh, if I just play it twice, I'll make it.
Right.
But having come close, especially like last night,
I heard about that.
Yeah, we went. I think we had all the boons, but we went 8-1 and then stopped because we had everything we wanted. But it was a cakewalk. Like, we were coming across teams that just were not difficult. Like, there was one team that, like, the games went long. They were highly defensive and good at it. But it wasn't hard. And then we come across a team that just like cleans us out, right? I'm kind of wondering from people who have made it to the Lighthouse whether when they finally got to the Lighthouse, if they felt like they just got all the right people and it wasn't hard, or whether they felt like they had achieved something. Or was it like you just played Trials of Osiris enough times that you finally got 9 straight easy teams?
I don't feel that way at all. Every time I've gotten there, it's felt like an achievement. I've had some that were kind of a cakewalk, but even still, because it's Trials, your heart's pounding and it feels tense. And then I've had some where every single match went to 4-4, and it was coming down to, you know, long matches. And I had one probably 3 weeks ago with Squid and Zero, I think it was, and we all agreed that was like the toughest ticket we had ever had. And we got to the Lighthouse at the end of it, but it was just we couldn't go more than 2 seconds without panicking.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I feel like that's what it should be.
And that's what I love about Trials. I've had some 0-3 tickets too. You know, I've been to the Lighthouse, you know, I don't want to say only because I know more than you guys, but 6 or 7 times maybe. 2 or 3 of those on Xbox and the rest on PlayStation. And a lot of the time I'll have maybe 1 or 2 matches where I kind of led the team, but that's more rare. I'm not the strongest player. Usually when I run it, I'm running with Otter Mac or Corny or Squid or Zero. I'm running with some of the people that are really good at PvP. But one thing I love about Trials is I honestly don't feel like being really good at PvP is the main component to doing well in Trials. It's all about the team. And most of the times I've been to the Lighthouse, we'll start out with one team. We'll play 3, 4, 5 games, losing most of them. But finally, usually around that 4th or 5th game, it clicks. We all know when it clicks. And when it clicks, we go back to the Reef, get a new ticket, and go from there, and usually get to the Lighthouse on that second ticket. I was playing last week with Xenos and Corny, and I think we got to 8-1, but we felt like we were all clicking well enough that we wanted to do it again as a team the next week. And it's so much more about teamwork. And you can have one person that maybe is a little too aggressive, but as long as the team knows how to make sure that they can revive that guy, if you're meshing well as a team, even if you're outmatched skill-wise by the other team, you have a chance. Unless, you know, you're facing 3 blade dancers that are going to blink shotgun and just
lag their way across the map.
Fly across the map. You know, they're in your spawn point 2 seconds after the match starts. You know, Sometimes you just get steamrolled, and that's all there is to it. And the only thing you can hope is that you don't get steamrolled twice in a row, which has happened. And definitely there's some luck involved. I don't feel like any time that I got to the Lighthouse that we weren't at least blessed a little bit by getting lucky with some easier opponents.
Well, and I think so. As somebody that hasn't made it, I kind of feel like I have a different perspective than Speedracer on it.
Absolutely.
I really enjoy Trials. I do. But I also really hate Trials. And I think me and Bjorn have talked about that quite a bit. It's the most fun PvP experience in Destiny, and it's also the most frustrating PvP experience maybe in any game I've ever played. And And so it's really strange to me because I'm really excited to finally make it to the lighthouse one day, but I kind of get the sense that once I do, I may never play it again. And
Done and out. I talked to Zero, and that seems to be his thought.
Yeah. Well,
He's like, nope, I did it.
And there's an interesting thought behind it, which is the reason I think that is because like a raid, you feel like you're always making progress. And even when you're bashing your head against Crota, you know, you learn something every time. But Trials so often is just, I don't know what we could have done there. We got steamrolled. And those just completely deflate you, even if you had 7 wins in a row.
Or even
which
especially
I've had,
if you had 7 wins in a row.
7 wins counting the boons, of course.
Right.
7 wins would get you to the lighthouse. But even if you had, 5, 7 wins in a row, you still feel just completely crushed when you get beat. And it's because of the way it's set up. And so I just can't imagine, even when I make it and I'm so excited about it, I just can't imagine being like, and I'm going to try and do that as often as I can.
No.
Which is a really interesting experience, being that it is so fun, that it can be so rewarding, even when I haven't made it to the lighthouse. It's just a strange experience I've never experienced in another game. And that's what they wanted to do with the mode, and I think they succeeded. But
for me, because I don't feel the same pressure. I've been to the lighthouse, so I don't feel quite as much pressure to get there. I still enjoy it, even when we lose, as long as we're playing well and winning more of our matches. I feel like I enjoy Trials maybe even more because I don't have that intense pressure. I have a healthy amount of pressure and panic while we're playing. So maybe you're different than me, but I feel like once you get to the lighthouse, you'll probably be able to sit back and say, I'm going to just enjoy Trials for what it is and not necessarily getting that emblem.
I hope so. I honestly do. I really do.
And I actually think that's probably kind of true, because I think one of the reasons, or one of the things that makes it a little bit hard or pressure for me when I'm playing, is that there's usually one other person on the team, at least, that hasn't made it to the lighthouse either. So as a team that's trying to be as cohesive as possible and talking and coordinating, when that breaks down, you feel bad, right?
Yeah.
You lose because the other team they didn't just headshot you better. They were a better team than you. And when I'm playing with people who have all made it to the lighthouse, then it's just me. Like, I'm failing myself. I'm not failing them quite as much, right? They at least have already made it there. And that ends up being less pressure and more fun, I think.
Yeah, I can see that.
Definitely.
And going back to the teamwork part, one of the reasons I like Trials is because I feel like even in a match where I don't get any kills and I just died a bunch, if I'm getting the revives, or even if I'm not doing that, if I'm making the good call-outs that are helping my team win, I honestly don't care if I'm at the dead bottom of the scoreboard, as long as we're winning because I'm contributing, even if it's just calling out where the guys are.
I feel like that's my role. I would really like to be able to play that role with the emblem, though. I feel like it would legitimize my position a little bit
Absolutely.
better.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest problem is Trials doesn't fit my playstyle. My playstyle is pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
And I can't do that in Trials. I just can't do it. Mostly because, you're always going to be facing 2 or 3 people if you're aggressive. And that just doesn't work for me. But I do enjoy the matches where I think like last week I went 14-1 in a whole game. And that was probably the most fun I've ever had in a Crucible match, just because, and it wasn't because I was doing amazing, it's because our whole team was working really well together, and I was literally cleaning up other people's kills. And while, in any other mode you'd get upset about that, in that mode we just tease each other about it and keep playing, because if you didn't kill that guy, he might not have died, he might have killed somebody else, and there's no other mode like that.
And I can't stress enough how important it is to have a team that you're not going to be getting mad at each other for screwing up, because you're going to screw up. You're going to make a bad call and be in a bad spot and die and not be able to be revived. And if you're with guys that you can joke with, or at least that they're not going to, not want to play with you ever again because you screwed up, that's important.
It is, yeah.
That's why I don't play with Beorn anymore.
Oh, what? Hey now.
So LFG is not the way to go, huh? Is that what you're saying?
I can't imagine doing trials
Me
LFG.
neither. I have a friend who does it, but I don't know. I don't know how he does. Crazy.
I would do that if my self-esteem ever got too high, I think.
Well, and that's the reason I came to DBO, because I played Halo all through college and law school, just matchmaking for the most part, just matchmaking on Friday night. The reason I came to DBO was so that I would always have a few people online that I could just hit up and have some fun.
Yeah, same. It wasn't until, like we talked about, the DBO or Destiny was announced that I started going on DBO to meet with other people. But I can't imagine playing Destiny without knowing people, because I think I have maybe 3 real life friends that play Destiny. So
Same. I have a coworker. I've got my nephews, and most of you guys have probably played with them in our fire team as well. And they play Destiny a lot. They love it. And I just can't understand why, as much as I tell them about joining somewhere like DBO or DBO itself, I don't understand why they won't do it. It's such a low bar to entry to have that community to play with.
Yeah, one of my old coworkers, I was just talking to him about this yesterday. Exact same thing. It's such a critical element.
Well, and I think a lot of it, like one of the coworkers I've also been trying to get to come to the site, is they have played with random people, because it's the only way they can get through certain experiences, and they've had maybe not bad experiences, but just very bland experiences. And to them, it's like that's the same thing it's going to be even in a community like this. Honestly, I've played with other communities in Halo, and it's not the same as this group, because this group is very friendly and doesn't really care. We have enough people. There's not really a group of people at DBO that really cares about skill and nothing else. And I think that's the reason
awesome.
why it's as fun as it is. It's because it's literally just a group of people that want to play and don't really care.
It's about the playing, not
Yeah.
about the points at the end so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are kind of coming up on the time that I'm setting for us. But before we wrap up, I just kind of wanted to get some thoughts from Earendil and Speedracer about things you'd like to see in Destiny that aren't there. Like, what are your hopes and dreams?
Speedracer goes first.
Oh, I was just about to say it first. Well, the one thing I think is missing a lot is private matches. And, you guys may have seen Xenos and I have a friendly wager about this, because I think it's coming sooner rather than later. And maybe it's not taking King. I feel like it's slightly better than 50% chance it will, which obviously means it's 49% chance it won't. But I think it needs it. And I think Bungie does want Destiny to be, at least to some degree, on the competitive scene, and you can't get there without private matches. And those competitive teams, they need a way to scrimmage each other and practice.
Oh, you mean the esports pro stuff?
Yeah, I think that's part of it, but also just for us to be able to play each other. And after that Bungie bounty, when
that was so
you guys
good.
were, you were playing with Deej, and we formed, I think, 3 teams on Xbox 360 to try to match up against you guys.
Yep.
And I was on the lucky team that we got matched up. And that was just so much fun that a couple weeks later we tried to do it again. And it took probably half an hour to get the 12 of us in a match together. But it worked. We played 2 or 3 matches until my team beat the other team so bad that we got Apple error coded and knocked to orbit.
The mercy boot.
Exactly. So, and then, I bat out and a couple of other people bat out and some more people joined in, and I think they got a couple more matches there. But Bungie knows that we shouldn't need to go through that. We shouldn't need to spend half an hour launching to find a fire opponent and backing out just so that the 12 of us can play together. And so I think that's been the one glaring omission that I really look forward to. And I don't know how much it needs to be, whether it's just the capability to load up a lobby and play a match, or whether we really need the options to turn off supers or no exotics or solar burn. A lot of those things sound really fun to mess with. I just want the ability to load up a lobby.
I feel like when they do it, though, they're going to go all the way. You're going to get all the options.
You're probably right, and that's probably why it won't come with Taken King, and it won't be here till Destiny 2.
Yeah.
But
I figured that was a good bet for me because if it doesn't happen, then I'll be happy, and if it does happen, I'll be happy. So, and I just want to point out we lost that match because of Deej. That's really important.
And Claude.
And Claude. That's true.
Actually, I don't know. Claude was ripping up with the last word that night at points.
yeah, I mean, I haven't watched that match more than I've probably watched it 3 times.
I was never so happy to lose a match, though. Like
Yeah,
it was
same.
close and semi-close. And
If I remember
it was
right,
just so much fun.
if I remember right, didn't Deej tell us not to throw it? I think I remember that.
I don't
I
think
think-
he said anything like that actually. But
We have it all recorded. We just don't have my voice
Yeah.
because I don't know how to record my voice.
there have been 2 moments in Destiny where my heart was racing uncontrollably. The first was getting Flawless Raider. We did that back in, I think it was November.
Yeah, you guys did that early.
You did
Yeah,
multiple
we did
times.
it back when, way before Crota. We did it when Atheon was still bugged and would not teleport anybody, or he would teleport one person. We got Flawless Raider without getting a single Times Vengeance on Atheon. So that was one of those moments where I didn't care that it was 1 a.m. and my whole family was asleep. I was, hooting and hollering. And the other was that when we got matched up against you guys, my heart did not stop racing until the end of that match, and I was just on a high for half an hour afterward.
Yeah, that was great. How about you, Earendil? What are your thoughts for the future of Destiny? The destiny of Destiny.
There's the destiny of Destiny. Well, since Speedracer took on a more multiplayer wish, I think for me, I would love for Patrol to be harder and more random. And by that, I mean, I really loved when I first started on Destiny and kind of exploring the areas, finding where the aliens were. But now whenever I land in Patrol, it's you get on your speed bike and you punch the go button, and there's no looking back until you get to where you're going. Like, nothing on the map is going to stop you. You never have to worry about what's going on. Maybe if there's a public event, you turn around, but even if there is, like, it's not a problem. It's not in your way. I would love to see some things in maybe not all of the areas, but in some of the areas that actually stop you, that actually make you a little bit worried, that at least change your speeder path, right? Like, oh, I might need to sneak through this area now instead of just blasting right through the middle of it.
Yeah, or actually engage these guys.
Yeah, like oh, this is interesting. I'd like to stop and like engage this without it being necessarily a public event. That's what I'd like to see. A little bit more random and a little bit harder.
Mm-hmm. That's a good wish.
I'm on board with that.
I'm curious to see how close the Taken King stuff is in the Dreadnaught.
Well, and I'll say, kind of in that same vein, I actually used to, specifically because I wanted hard activities to do each week, I'd do the Nightfall by myself on purpose. I'd even put myself offline on Xbox so that people would not join me, because there just really isn't an experience quite like Legendary in Halo, in Destiny. And to me, that's what it was. And I was really, I don't know if upset is the right word, because I understood the reasoning behind it, but I was a little bit disappointed when they raised the difficulty on Nightfalls for single players, because it went from being like Legendary to being like Lasso difficulty. And
how many of us have show of hands? How many of us have put on lower level gear to drop your level to do a Nightfall?
I have not done that.
I have not done that either.
I do go in them by myself sometimes, like Xenos, and try to solo them, especially as a hunter, where you don't have that, oh crap, I died, but I don't want to reset button.
Yeah. It's pretty intense, like, because you get that 30% reduction in damage output, and you're going to take more damage. I've definitely put on a different helmet and thought, okay, I'll level this helmet while I'm doing this and see what happens.
Yeah,
I don't think it ever actually panned out for me very well.
It did before they raised the difficulty. I think I did it once or twice.
Yeah.
See, I probably am one of those people that has soloed Nightfall more than I've actually done it with people. And part of that is that I do it as a Sunsinger, so I do have one reset button if I get just a little bit too aggressive. But I love playing it that way. That's a good amount of like I'm making progress, but I can't, like, I can still wipe out a good number of enemies if I play it right, but I can't be too aggressive.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing I miss is before they raised the difficulty, if I wiped, it didn't feel like a big deal because it was like, that was hard, but it wasn't like super ridiculously hard. And now after they've changed it, like I tried to do it this week and I beat the tank and then just got hit with something completely random. I don't even know what it was, and died. And I was like, I do not want to go
That's it. I'm done.
do that for another 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my hope also, is the same thing as you, Earendil, which is I want more challenges that I can do by myself. And I would absolutely love if they were in Patrol. And I mean, it sounds like they're going to at least try and make Patrol more challenging. Whether or not it'll be more random, that we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see a lot more variability in the types of patrol missions, but also the exploration. Actually, having a reason to go looking in every nook and cranny, because there's going to be more than just 10 spin metal in this chest.
And there's going to be more than 3 ghosts, I would imagine, added in the Taken King as well.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, mine sort of fits into that. The thing I've always wanted, and I'm afraid that, well, sort of afraid, I've fully expected that the lifespan for Destiny on last-gen systems is limited. And for me, I want bigger patrol areas. I want larger worlds. And I think that by dropping the old platforms, they might be able to make that happen.
Yeah.
And I think along with that will come, just some more inherent just difference in how patrol plays out and how the missions play out too. There's just going to be more terrain to work with per environment. So that's sort of my long-term hope, is that the places we go are going to feel larger and they're going to feel more real, and we're going to have sort of get lost. Like you can go and just get lost in a place for a while.
Well, and I think probably number one wish though of all is more lore. I absolutely love the Grimoire. I think I've spent probably as many hours as I've spent reading good books, reading the Grimoire. And
yeah, there's a lot of material there.
I love it. I've reread a lot of it, and I want that to both matter in the game a little bit more, and also for a lot of it to be a little bit less mysterious. I like the mystery, but sometimes you read a card and you're like, I have no idea how that fits into this universe.
I agree. I think by far the best of all the Grimoire even is the Story of Thorn and Last Word.
Yeah.
Connected to it. But because there's just enough mystery there, but you're getting straight up dialogue, so you know what's going on and who's talking for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think this wraps up episode 5. Unless you guys have anything else to add.
Oh, let's go do a raid.
And thank you so much for joining us. I think it's really awesome that we were able to get some community folks in here, and I think we should make this a semi-regular thing. So I don't know how we're gonna do that yet. This is definitely just a ad hoc thing, but we'll come up with a system and get some community people in on the podcasts going forward.
Awesome. It was fun.
It was great to be here.
And as always, we had Earendil and Speedracer as guests, and Xenos, and I'm Beorn. Thank you for listening. You can I should plug our Twitter or something, right? We're at DBO_tweets, and you can find us at Destiny.Bungie.Org. We are not Bungie.net. And thank you for listening, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.